Yes, people. It's Jacob on the one up top. It's been a minute, but I've had to come out and have a little chat, man. I was going for a morning walk after doing the school runs, and I thought, you know what? I need to have my say on what's going on at my club, because it's just getting ridiculous now. Before you do anything, just make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of that, and we'll get into it. So it's not even, when I look at Tottenham Hotspur, it's not even about the result yesterday. I think it's getting to the point where watching Spurs over the years, along with other stuff that goes on in football, I've looked at it and thought to myself, it's desensitizing my love for football. Do you know what I mean? It's like, like how they say, if you watch things like EastEnders, it'll cause you, the more you watch it, the more it depresses you. If you're sitting there as an adult and you watch pornography, it gets to the point where when you look at men and women, it's a different thing if you're addicted to it and stuff like that. When I look at not just football in itself, but Tottenham, I sat there for a long time yesterday and realised there's certain things I used to do when it comes to football that I don't do anymore, because I'm starting to get sick and tired of my club and football in itself. With football, you got VAR, you got your David Coots coming out, and with all the stuff that they're doing, you think, well, how can I respect any officiating anymore with VAR? And you got idiots like that are taking drugs, sniffing coke, and making decisions in football. And then you look at Tottenham, and it's just like this. Ever since I've supported them, I've supported them for like 30 years now. They're never serious. I look at Tottenham, the only time I've looked at it and I believed we were serious, and then you look back and we probably wasn't then, was under Pochettino. Harry Redknapp was another time where I believed, and possibly Martin Jol. Any other time, it's just a joke. Now, the way I look at it, and this is me being real, is that man or woman, but I'm going to speak from a man's perspective. It's like, imagine you're my friend, yeah, and I've been with a woman for 5 years, not even 30 years, 5 years, yeah, and I tell you that she ruins my weekends. There'll be a week where she makes me happy, and then there's another week where she upsets me. No matter what we're trying to do is in a relationship, we never quite get there, and it's due to the fact that she can't stand on her decisions, or I can't stand on my decisions. Between me and her, we're not on the same wavelength. Like, if I've been like that for five years, you'd be like, well, Jacob, why are you still with her? Right? Why are you putting so much energy into it? If you want to be with her, that's fine, but you need to change the way you look at her, because she's not going to change. If you've been with her for 5 years and she's not changing, she's not helping you in your life and all that stuff, you either leave her, but if you can't leave her for whatever reasons, change the way you are with her. So everybody that knows me, my ex-partner would tell you, my mum and sisters would tell you, Tottenham, like, Friday night I could go out for a meal with my ex. Saturday, I've took the kids to the park. We've had a wicked day. I've took them to a fun fair. We've gone had a steak. Wicked day, mate. Tottenham lose the North London derby on Sunday. There was no point in me having that good weekend, because the weekend's ruined now. That was me maybe 10 years ago. Once I started realising the delusion that is Tottenham Hotspur, after about 5 years, I thought, I've got to stop doing that. So then it got to the point where, I started making videos, or better yet, I'd be annoyed for about an hour and I'd go and find myself something to do. So whether it was go and play football, go to the gym, I'd find something to do. Now I'm at that stage where I don't even want to do that. I just think to myself, it's got to that stage where sometimes I don't even want to watch it. I spoke to a good friend of mine who's a gooner, right? And he knows his football. So he's putting a bet down, and he's like, oh, what do you reckon on the Tottenham score? So I said, well, I don't know whether you want to do both teams to score or not, but we won't win. You know what I mean? And he's like, and all I keep hearing from people is like, but you beat Man City. Yeah, I know, but this is what Tottenham do. This is why we ain't serious. Man City, when we won that 4-0, as much as I was gassed, the next day I laughed because I knew there was going to be a string of bad results, and that's all. And it's like, what's the point? No, everybody's going mad. Ange this, Ange that, Ange this. It's always, he does stand on Ange a lot. You look at some of the things I don't like about Ange and in football managers in general is like, you're watching the game, you're 1-0 down to Bournemouth, or you're 1-0 down to Palace, or you're 1-0 down to Ipswich, and when the camera focuses on Ange, he looks like I do in my living room. He's got his hands in his pocket, and he's watching the game like a fan. I don't. For me, I like my manager to be like Pep or Jurgen. If it's 1-0 and we're playing bad, Jurgen Klopp's going nuts. Pep's going nuts. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand the sense of calm when we're playing that bad. I mean, if we're losing and we're playing well, I can understand the hands in the pockets and saying, we'll come good. But there's games where he's not even going mad. And that for me just comes across like there's a bit of arrogance, there's a bit of an ego with Ange, and the way he was talking to the fans yesterday and went over to them, it's like, I don't agree with what the fans were saying about his weight and stuff like that. There's no need for that. His weight has got nothing to do with his intelligence of being a football manager. He uses his head for that. But I just sense a bit of arrogance, and because he's a media darling, he gets away with it. Like when you're looking at his form's just as good as Ten Hag's. But the way everyone talks about Ange and Ten Hag, it's like, Ange, you'd think that he's set for life. But we're 10th. Like Bournemouth have just gone above us. Man United, if they'd beaten Arsenal, everyone's cussing out United. If they'd got a result at United, they would have gone above us as well. Figure that one out. Man United were 14th and we was all cussing them out. Now, I understand it's all tight in there, but, it's pretty clear that if we're going to get top 4, or better yet, if you're going to win a league, 3 or 4 games winning on a bounce could probably take you 3, 4, 5 places up the league the way it's going, because a lot of teams in this league are very inconsistent. I think the only team that are consistent in the league at the minute, really, is Liverpool, and that's the reason why they're top. You look at Arsenal, they're starting to pick up a bit of consistency, Chelsea as well, and that's the reason why they're the top 3. Simple maths. But, I'm just looking at this Tottenham as an establishment, as a staff, as a crew, whatever. I'm starting to sound like Tupac. I don't understand the point of it anymore. It stems from the top, but there's always a manager. The manager's always the problem. And the owner's always the problem. But the owners aren't going to change. And if the ownership's not going to change, it doesn't matter what manager you bring in. So my thing is, just like I used the analogy on your partner, if I'm with a woman and no matter what, she don't change, you go counselling, you go to some sort of therapy, you decide that you're not going to go out with the boys every weekend, you do everything, right? But your woman ain't going to change. Why are you giving her the same energy? I was sat there with my son yesterday and I was watching the game, and I didn't realise that I was just staring at the TV and I was really quiet. But then it's only when my son goes, "Dad, are you all right?" I just looked at him and went, "Oh, yeah. And he goes, "Oh, you look really annoyed. Like, is it because we're losing?" I said, "It's nothing to do with losing. I've told you at the beginning of the game we're going to lose this game." I'm just starting to, I just said to him, I'm just starting to question, why do I bother? I'll always be a Spurs fan, but it's just like, my brain's only going to do what's natural, and it's like, why do I bother? Why do I jump up and scream? Because even when you jump up and scream with the Man City games, look at the results after that. We drew to Roma, who are getting thumped up by some really weak teams. I think they got beat by Verona not long before we drew with them, and then they should have won that game. Before Man City, we lost to Ipswich. We drew with Fulham, and Fulham, realistically, they should have won about 4-1. And then we did what we did yesterday with Bournemouth. Bournemouth were just queuing up. You know, and again, I go back to Ange. It's like, I'm not a football manager, but some things are just simple. It's like, I can't for the life of me understand why when Ben Davies come on, you stuck Archie Gray in a centre-half position. The geezer is about 5'9". He's a little wimp anyway. Like, I was saying it to my son. I said, like, I don't know what Tottenham fans see in Archie Gray. I know he's only 18. I believe that we should have got him and let him stay at Leeds, because I don't see what it is. Like, everyone's just hyping up because he can do this inverted role. I don't care about inverted role. I'm old school. If you're going to play right back, can you defend? Yes. Are you going to shy out of a tackle? No. Good then. You can play right back then. You know, we're looking at Archie Gray, and it's like, because he's English, everyone's loving it. If he was Spanish, everyone would be like, who's this guy? Do you get what I'm saying? But because he's English and everybody loves the fact that they want an Englishman to do well, we've just gone and spent 40 million on someone that clearly ain't ready. Do you get what I'm saying? 40 million for someone that ain't ready. So it's pretty clear that he's an investment. But what? Are we looking at Archie Gray and thinking in about 5 years' time he's going to be that good that we're going to sell him for 100 mil? Well, that's what the owners are doing, because he's not ready. You know, Jed Spence is on the bench. Why? He's had a couple of good games. He had a good game against Cardiff. He's done all right in Europe in a couple of games. Why is he suffering for somebody that realistically doesn't know where his position is? You know, if you say to Archie Gray, what's your position? I don't know. He's played left back, he's played right back, he's played centre midfield, and now he's played centre half. And he got rinsed. Bournemouth were just loving it. Like, Eben Nielsen was just licking his lips. Like, I'm not no professional player, but if someone told me to go up front against Archie Gray, I would love that, because you just know, just keep pushing him about and all that stuff, and eventually he's got to crumble because he's not a centre half. Do you know what I mean? It's just in my head. It's like, why couldn't you put, if Archie Gray is going to be playing somewhere, put him in centre midfield in the holding position and tell Basuma to go back one. You know, Basuma's a holding midfielder by nature. He sniffs out danger. Why are you not sticking him back there? Because we were just asking to get pumped then. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was watching the game and I was saying to the kids, I just can't wait for it full time. And they're like, why is that? So I can go and eat the cookies and go to bed. That, like, and I genuinely meant it. I didn't have any confidence that we're going to bring the game back. I had confidence that Bournemouth were going to go and score another one. I just thought to myself, well, what's the point? But even my daughter said, like, Dad, how come, like, Tottenham are playing that bad and you're not getting angry? You're like, normally you're going mad at the telly. I just looked at her and said, what's the point? This is Tottenham. This is what we do. You know, for me, I don't understand what we're trying to do. I don't understand where we're trying to go. You know, everybody keeps saying, oh, Tottenham push for the top four. What's the point of pushing for a top four when we've got a team that ain't really good enough? You know, when you look at the team, for instance, yeah. Now, you know, shout out all the people that play Football Manager. You know what I'm on about, the real ones, yeah. Now, I know Football Manager is completely different to being an actual manager. You know, because you know you're not dealing with. There's certain things you got to deal with running a football club. Okay, but some of the like simplicities are very similar. So it's like, how do I put it? So imagine, like, if someone says to me, whenever I play Football Manager, I always say to myself, right, I look at the squad, I put a few bits and bobs together, and then I'll say, what do I want to do? So Daniel Levy would come out and say, you know, I expect Tottenham to finish in the top four in a Champions League spot, and I'm going to give you 80 mil to do it, and then you can spend money, you know, if there's any players that you feel are surplus to requirements and all that stuff. So if there's 80 million and I can raise another 80 million, I've got 160 to spend. All right? Now, but for me, you know, I used to play this a lot with my cousin, so my cousin knows what I do. I'd get a notepad and say to myself, what players am I going to get rid of, end of, like, whether it's going to be this window, next window, or the window after. I want to win the league in 3 years. Yeah. So in 3 years' time, you ain't going to be there. You ain't going to be there. You ain't going to be there. And you ain't going to be there. Right. So if I throw some names out there, yeah, and it's not to pick on them, I look at some of the players that we've got, and I'm talking about who would I want in the squad. I wouldn't have like, you know, I wouldn't have someone like Archie Gray. You can go on loan for a start, yeah. Someone like Jed Spence, is he good enough? Well, I'll give you 6 months, but then if you're not doing well, then you can shoot. You know, Ben Davies, love him as a servant, but it's like, it's doing my head, you know. Whenever Ben Davies has a good game, everyone's like, see, this is why he should be part of the squad. It's like, but then he's not good enough. He couldn't handle Bournemouth yesterday. I mean, he done well against Man City, but Ben Davies is hanging on because he has a couple of good performances. It's like, I'll give you an example. Liverpool, when they had that season where Jurgen Klopp was nearly going to finish outside the top 4, and they had all them injuries, Van Dijk and all that. Yeah, they brought in Nat Phillips. Now this Nat Phillips guy, he had a blinder against AC Milan. He had a blinder against, I think it was Man City or someone like that. He had a good game against us. And he goes down as like a semi-legend at Liverpool. Where is he now? I don't even know where he is. I remember him going back to Bolton or something like that, or Leeds, or I don't even know if he's still on the books. Is he playing now when Liverpool are back where they're supposed to be? No, he's never going to play. You know, they've got Kwanzaa. They've got Van Dijk, obviously, Konate and Joe Gomez. You know, 3 defenders that are better than all the defenders that we've got. Like, everyone talks, you know, when I was watching the football yesterday, they're talking about, oh, you know, we need Van der Ven and Romero back because they're our starting 2. They might be our starting 2, but the problems are still there. Everyone's acting like we bring them 2 and we start keeping clean sheets. No. Mickey Van der Ven is good because of recovery, but he's as good a defender as Kyle Walker. Why? Because they've both got pace. But realistically, in terms of defence and reading the game, they ain't the best. You know, if you got Van der Ven and you got Kyle Walker, and they woke up in the morning and they got the same pace as me, they ain't getting in Man City and Tottenham. Why? Because then you get found out that you can't defend because you can't recover. Yeah, you got Romero, falls asleep half the time, goes around kicking people when it ain't going his way. Do you know what I mean? Or just start talking to other people. Do you know what I mean? So they might be better defenders, but the way we're being set up, it doesn't matter who you put in there. You could have put Van Dijk and Konate at Tottenham and we'd probably still concede goals. Because it's probably because of the way we set up. It's the culture of the club, because we settle for second best all the time. You know, I was watching some of them players walk off the pitch yesterday, and you could just tell that they just didn't look like they were bothered. They didn't look like they were playing for the coach, and more importantly, the manager. I mean, the club, sorry. But it doesn't matter. I've just got to the stage now where, you know, Tottenham are just... It's always going to be a mess as long as we've got these owners. It's always going to be this mess as long as we've got fans that, you know, we're the most divided club in the country, because the reason why the owners get away with it is because they divide and conquer. You get a third of this fan base that are like happy with Spurs because we've got the best stadium and we ain't in debt and da-da-da. So they're happy for the team to be run as a business, which is part of the job. You got a third that, you know, will sit there and jump around as soon as we get top 4, or they'll be jumping around the minute Arsenal lose and they've won, and that's their weekend sorted. And then you get fans like myself that it's like, I don't care about the stadium. I don't care about that. I don't care. I mean, bit money and all that stuff, of course you've got to care about it, otherwise there's no club. But I don't care about the stadium. The money that you put in the stadium, I'd rather you just built an extension on White Hart Lane and put the money onto the grass and win stuff. You know what I mean? Like, when I give my son stories about Tottenham, like I've said on videos before, when my son and my daughter say to me, like, as a Spurs fan, name one time where you were absolutely gassed and it got to the point where you'll never forget it. You speak to an Arsenal fan, they'll tell you about, you know, the Invincibles. You speak to a Man United fan, treble. Man City, treble. Liverpool, Istanbul, Chelsea, Champions League. Tottenham, when Lucas Moura scored that hat-trick. That's the most gassed I've ever got as a Spurs fan, and I've been with him for 30 years. So again, I go back to the analogy of a woman. You know, imagine if I'm sat there with my friends and we've all got our partners, right? And I'm saying to one guy, you know, What's your partner bringing to the table? And he's saying, oh, you know, when I come home, I've got a cooked meal. You know, when it gets to the point I've had a bad time at work, she makes my weekend better. You're like, all right, cool. You know, she's definitely a keeper. Then they go over to your other friend and it's like, oh, you know, what's your thing? You know, oh, you know, she can be annoying, but she takes accountability. So we're working on the fact that at the minute she's not in a good place, but we're working on it, and it's getting to the point where slowly but surely our relationship's getting better. All right, cool. That's definitely a keeper. At least she's taking accountability. What about yours, bruv? So it gets to the point where everyone's got, they're either building a relationship or the relationship's there and it's strong. And then they go to you and it's like, well, you've been married for 10 years, so yours must be going strong, Jacob. Nah, what's that? Well, if I'm honest, I don't even want to come home from work. Why is that? Because whenever I come home, she gives me grief. Every time I come home on the weekend, it's a mess. She doesn't take accountability. She's seconds for second best all the time when I want to be the best. What's everyone on the table going to say? Well, why are you putting the same energy in? You either put in the same energy as her and accept that you're always going to settle for second best, or if you really, really, really don't want to do it, then I suggest if there's no option to break up with her because you don't want a divorce, just chill out. Just chill out. You know, there's no point in getting hyper or getting upset if she's not going to change. But if you're accepting that you're always going to be married to her because of the kids or because of the house or for whatever reason, don't come here moaning then. So for me, I've just looked at it and thought, like, there's no point in moaning. There's no point in going mad. You know, it's getting to the point with Tottenham. I don't even get encouragement to do videos because it's just like I find myself saying the same thing and it's just weird. You know, but I have to do it because I do enjoy getting it out, and doing videos is part of the therapy when it comes to Tottenham. You just get to smash it out, you know, and just tell yourself and everybody what you think, and it's good to get your opinion out there. But I just don't see the point, you know. It's just, well, I don't know where we are now. I think we're 10th in the league. What will happen? We'll play Chelsea next week. Somehow win that, and everybody's been jumping around. But I can promise you, if we play if we play Chelsea and beat them, I'll get more annoyed. So I'll be like, what's the point of beating your Man Cities and your Chelseas and then not getting the business done with any other teams? You know, like you look at it, man. If we beat Man City, right? Now, there's no divine right to go and win football matches. Don't get it twisted. But if you're going to the Etihad and beating Pep Guardiola 4-0, yeah, you've got to start saying to yourself, right, we've set the tone here. We've got to go and do a bit more. But then you go to Fulham and get battered. I mean, you're at home to Fulham and get battered. Before that, you were at home to Ipswich and got battered. I mean, like, what are we doing? And Ange for me, Ange hasn't got a leg to stand on because these are his tactics. These are his players. You know, he came out openly and said that, you know, everybody keeps going on about Ivan Toney, but I wanted Solanke. You know, for me, Solanke works his socks off and I rate him for that still. But there was a chance in the first 15 minutes that Ivan Toney might not have worked his socks off, but Ivan Toney puts that away. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of strikers out there that put it away. You know, when you look at this is like, on paper, this is one of the worst squads we've ever had, and Ange is happy with it, you know. Like I say, when I go back to that Football Manager comment, there's only, if I said to myself, I want to win the title in 3 years, and there's players in this team that I'm going to have in my squad, not in my starting lineup necessarily, in my squad, you're talking 5 players maybe, and that's me being real, you know. Vicario's a good goalie. Pedro Porro's becoming a good right back. Kulusevski, obviously, he's been our main player, and that's somebody that I'd have in the squad. You know, Maddison maybe. You know, Van der Ven, quality defender, but he spends most of his time injured because of his hamstring. And then Romero, you don't know whether he's going to wake up in the morning and decide he fancies a club in Spain. So it's like, there's 6 players that you look at, and there'd probably be 1 or 2 of them that I'd move on because of injuries or because of a preference to be in a different country and all that stuff. So that's 5 players, but we've got a squad of 25, and Ange is trying to convince me, as well as every other Tottenham fan, that he's going to win something this season. Like, let's be real, he's not going to, because even if we beat Man United in the Carling Cup, we'll get knocked out to a lesser side that's probably still in it. I can't even think who's still in it, but we'll end up doing it. And even if we get to the final, we'll just bottle it. I don't think Ange realises what kind of club he's come to, man. But the culture's wrong. You know, Conte said it, Pochettino said it. You know, and they don't need to say it because it's pretty clear for somebody with a brain to see that everything's wrong at Spurs. But everyone would just act like it's fine when we get your 4-0s at your Man Cities. It's got to the point now where, like I say, I'm going to end it now because I need to get stuff done on my day. But I've just got to the stage now where I just think it's pointless giving the energy that I've always done for Tottenham Hotspur, because the energy's never reciprocated. You know, there's no consistency. There's fans like me, there's fans like, you know, I've got so many friends that are fans of Spurs and of football clubs, and their energy's the same. You know, whether they're going to the stadium, whether they're going to, wherever they're going to the pub, whatever they're doing, the energy's the same. But, you know, I had a friend of mine say to me, how come you ain't been to Tottenham for ages? And I was real with him. I said, I'm not giving no money to something that I don't believe in. Do you know what I mean? Like, of course, I've got my kids on the weekend and stuff like that. But if I really wanted to, I'd get my money out and go and, you know, head down to London and go and watch a couple of games. But I don't bother. The only time I ever do it is when we're local in Wolves. Why? I'm not giving no money to that club. The only time I'll do it is because my son really wants a shirt. But I see that as more investment to my son rather than giving money to the club. But as far as I'm concerned, I can't remember the last time I bought a shirt. I can't remember the last time I bought a ticket. And like I say, the last time I watched Tottenham was at Wolves Stadium in the Wolves part. So effectively, I'm giving money to Wolves because I'm as long as these owners are here, and as long as we sit there as Tottenham Hotspur and pretend to be a top club, I won't bother. You know, for me, I know it's not going to happen, but the only way I take Tottenham seriously is if the owners were to ever come out and just tell us what they expect. So if they expect Tottenham Hotspur to be a mid-table club that generates money and never goes into debt, tell me that and I'll accept it, because then when we're in 6th and 7th position, I'm calm, because this is what the owners want to do. If it gets to the point where you're telling me you want to be a Champions League football side week in, week out, then you need to show me, you know. So if you want to be a top 4 side year in, year out, you don't go and get an Ange Postecoglou, because before we got him in, there was no indication that this was going to be a manager that's done it before, because the only reason he's been in the Champions League is because he's at Celtic. And if you're somebody that you're saying, right, I want to go and win the league, when you've got your Mourinhos and you've got your Contes, back them properly, because these managers have left Tottenham and gone to Roma and other clubs respectively. Oh, Conte's at Napoli doing all right there, but beforehand he won everywhere he went. Comes to Tottenham, nothing. Mourinho, nothing. The club's just rotten. So I refuse to give the energy that I normally do, and I do apologise because there's a lot of people that have said, you know, where's your videos and stuff, but if I'm honest, it just depends how I feel that weekend, because Tottenham, like I say, as much as I support them and I'll always have Tottenham in my heart, I don't see the point of giving energy into anything in life when it's never ever going to be reciprocated. So just one of those where I'll just watch it and carry on with my afternoon and not ruin it for the weekend with my children. So yeah, that's me done. There's my rant, my little explanation. As I say, I'll try and get some videos out, but the likelihood is that something needs to change within the club or within myself maybe for me to get them out regularly. So yeah, love, Jacob 101 up top.